Hello, nice to see so many of you here today.
Let's see, start here. Yeah, as we saw here before, it's quite tough.
Half of the S&P 500 companies will fall off the index within the next decade. That's quite tough. There's a lot of incumbents out there really need to start rethink how they're going to do this. And it seems like it's just the start of it. Quite a few companies have managed to disrupt the world, and it's just the beginning of it, and it's going to happen to all industries. Okay. Yes. And it seems a bit hard to know really where to start. I mean, some company they buy up digital-born startups. Some start innovation programs to start somewhere. But that's not. It's a good start, but it's not really good enough. It's you need to really start to be able to get some real synergy effects out of it. You need to also start building your own digital core, really. So that's to really be able to communicate and have a map and coordinate your business in a better way. I talked to a digital officer recently, and she said to me they're now investing hundreds of millions into a new digital innovation program. And I was impressed, and I asked her really, I mean, how do you manage to really align it to the strategy and your product development portfolio? And she said, yeah, no, we're not there yet. No, but we got to go. We got to do something about it. So they started. Eventually, I think every company needs to really learn the infinite game of continuous disruption if they're still going to be there. And I think there's one major obstacle, really, that we need to, an obstacle to success, to be able to find a solution to this. And I'm a little bit curious if you're going to follow me on this one, because as we know, in the middle of difficulty, there's an opportunity. So let's start really with to put that difficulty into context here. So we look at this again. We have the strategic, tactical, and operational level. And to explain this, I need to evolve this triangle a bit. So to serve the purpose of my continuous presentation, I'd rather talk about where to go, what to do, and to do. And as we're going to talk about improvements and transformation and even disruption, I think it's quite good if we have a timeline there, so we can learn from the past, but not the least imagine the future. And we can now also ask ourselves, did we go right, did we do right, and did we do well? And I think the strategy part is a little bit too small, so let's expand it up in this square instead. So we have the future and the past, and we have the three levels. And I think it's very important also that we don't miss the external perspective, really. That's often missed, and especially the one up to the right, because it's going to be even more important. I think it's too much focus on the one down to the left right now. So if we look at where we are today, there's a lot of automation going on, and it's needed, it's about 50%, almost half of the staff in the operational work is it's expected to lose their job to automation, really. But there's going to be also a need of a lot of new jobs there in that area. So we need people who program artificial intelligence, who manage the robots, etc. down there. So it's a big shift. And we're also going to need a lot more people to work with analytics, as we expected today. But analytics today is really surprisingly staff intensive, I think. There's a lot of data scientists working down there with they do their own, they wrangle and map and analyze data according to their own opinions and biases, as we do all have, of course. So it's very diverged down there, so we need to coordinate that in a better way. And what many now really talking about is that you should have a data-driven strategy. And what will happen if we have a data-driven strategy within this scenario down here? I mean, it's not really coordinated up there. Due to a survey by McKinsey, 38% of the CEOs self-reported that they were leading the analytic agenda within big companies. But their C-level executives, only 9% of them agreed about it. So it's it doesn't really go together. It's maybe it's just a misconception between leading and funding here, or it's just hard to walk the talk, maybe. But we really need to organize analytics in a lot better way to be able to and align it to the strategy. But first and foremost, we need to align and be a lot more efficient working with the strategy than we are today in our organizations. So we need to start up there. That's crucial. If we look at what support there are in different areas then, I mean, key strategy tools up there, this suggests there's 80 plus ones, and it's getting more and more all the time. Ever since the strategy becomes a field of its own back in the 50s, they're just growing and get more and more tools. And it's very hard to keep them together, understand which one you should use and which, when. Kaplan Norton, who's in their execution premium initiative, which is really extensive and agnostic to other tools, they have a suggestion of how you relate a lot of different strategy tools to their balanced scorecard and strategy map. But it falls flat really because they are just perspectives, all these tools, in the same way as a balanced scorecard is. So you don't really have this common denominator. You need to keep all this together. And down in the data and AI landscape, there's growing. I mean, that map 2 years ago was just half of the tools. So there's a lot of tools developing down there. But the main problem is still that even though you pick 2 or 3 of these tools, the main problem is that you need to be able to put the content of these tools into the context of the business. That's the main purpose. It doesn't matter if you're adding more tools. That's the main thing you need to start with. So, as this is a time journey, let's go back to where it's all started. Actually, it started back when I was a rookie, back in the beginning of the 90s. I joined 2 big projects, one at ABB and one at Tetra Pak. And the ambition at that time was really to gather and model everything, the entire corporate in one information model. And that was an extensive task, and many gave up that really. But the Tetra Pak project was really a bit different because there was a modeling technique origin from Volvo and their way of building up configuration from the beginning. So it was a Lego system, so to speak. It was brought in there by Svante Samuelsson at the time. And it was real fascinating because you could start model and reflect businesses in an entirely new way. And I was so fascinated about it from the very beginning, and I've been ever since. The idea was really to differ the business logic from the beneath IT technology, the technology underneath, and also the models were also able to withstand changes in business. So everything was as content instead of putting a lot of hard tables in systems. Back then it was, it was too early, and the technology wasn't there at that time. And still isn't really, with one exception, I would say. I'm not going to mention which one. And then later on when we started Ortelius around 2000, we started the thought of, well, maybe we should try to build this thing the database underneath, able to really keep all that kind of models. So we started to build a prototype. It was like a proof of a concept in the beginning. But after a while, a lot of our customers, some of you, started to like this so much. So beginning using it, and what was a proof of concept in the beginning turned into a real solid platform. And that's what we have today, and it has evolved over many years now. And it also brought in Joachim Klivemo, which is really our core developer and magician also today, who had already at Tetra Pak, he managed to really use the SQL Server and do some real magic things, even though it wasn't really built for what we tried to do. So now that has turned into actually I was at a conference a year ago about, and there I heard someone that taught, first time I heard about the digital twin of an organization, and I talked to the speaker afterwards, and he was so excited. Oh, this is really something new. I mean, it's like building a digital replica of the organization, of the business, and it's real fantastic. And I thought, to me, it was kind of that's kind of an oldie from where I come from. But I didn't say that, but I thought. So it's quite interesting, because that's was the way we've been thinking all the way, to really differ from supporting and building information models to support one system and the users, and instead really try to reflect the business as it is in its nature. It's a big difference, because then you can use that model as a core later on for everyone. We have also, with new ways of doing things, of modeling it, also a new way of working. So it gives a lot of opportunities and possibilities to also prototype and do scenarios, etc., which we'll hear more about later on from Alfa Laval and IKEA, which is quite interesting. So we're also working with our method quite a lot. It's very important. And now also on the top of our business universal model, we adding on a kind of a coordinate system where you can describe any business and their capabilities and the value streams. So you can compare as is with to be, and you can also compare your business with competitors and companies within other industries, for instance. So that's quite interesting, and we call that it's a business universal language. We think of it as a formal language, which is universal, like math, that you can use that. Yes, and as this is the time, we add up these in 3 pillars, which are really needed and fundamental to be able to do corporate development. We need a digital twin platform, business universal language, and the way of working. They're all crucial to be able to do corporate development in a good way. So let's go back again to this map. So how we're working then is that we have our core in the middle. That's where we have the core model and the language, so to speak. So we're using in the different areas. So now we can start to develop strategic twin, do both prototyping and realization. That's on strategic level. And then we can also work on it on the more tactical level with twins and prototypes. That's where we do things. That's where we define how we develop products and how we develop the organization and its underlying resources. And we can also do digital twins of operational processes and parts, but down there we don't use the platform often to really keep and be the realization, but we can do a lot of simulation of it, because the platform is not really built to support operation in real life, so to speak. And we also have, it's also important that we have the method, and to be able to have this. It's not only about like strategy execution, it's about strategy life cycle management. It's a continuous process. Okay, this is just, I promise not to show this picture really, because it was too complicated, but I had to do anyway. I still lost some arrow there, so I don't know where someone took it away. Just two things with this one. One thing is very important. No, it's only one because the one is taken away. But it's very important. What this shows is really, it's very important to, as much as possible, put data into context when it's created. You shouldn't hire a lot of data scientists to try to figure out and make up stories about what you have done. Most of the data, at least the ones created in your business, is possible to put in context when it's created. And it gives a lot of opportunities to also have, not only have analytics on operational level, but also on a tactic and strategic level. It's a good benefit. And there should also be two more arrows that show that this is just a part of an ecosystem. It's just as important to understand this loop about your customer and your customer's customer. So you should see it as a continuous system. You can see some puzzle faces out there, but it's too much in this one. So you might not be ready for this, but your kid's gonna love it. I promise. Thank you.